Stay tuned. We're going to hear from Scott, who's a police officer and who's called us on this in just a second. But let's check in first with Ellie Harrison. Ellie is co-founder of Get Glasgow Moving. Ellie, good morning.
Morning there, Stephen.
Get Glasgow Moving. Remind us what you do there.
So we're a local campaign group for integrated public transport. So what we want is our bus network, our subway and our trains to be planned and coordinated by our regional transport authority, SPT, so that the whole system works together as a whole. And the key reason why we can't have that in Glasgow or other parts of Scotland at the moment is because the bus network is completely deregulated and privatised everywhere in Scotland, apart from in Edinburgh, where they have publicly owned Lothian buses. So with regards to the concessionary card scheme, we want public transport to be cheaper for everybody. We want to encourage more and more people to use public transport. But delivering the concessionary card scheme in this privatised and deregulated model that we're stuck with at the moment is a really inefficient use of public money. So the Scottish Government is putting nearly £500 million every year into buses, and the vast majority of that is going on concessionary cards. And the way it works at the moment is that there's a formula that every time a young person or an older person who has a bus pass gets on the bus company gets a percentage of their full single fare for that journey. But the problem with that system is these private companies set the full single fare. So they keep that fare as inflated as they can so that they get more money every time a young person or somebody else with a concessionary card gets on the bus. So that's a really mad system because it keeps the single fares inflated. I happen to fall in the group between 22 and 60, so I don't have a
Congratulations.
bus pass. So if I get on a bus in Glasgow, it costs me £3.10 because First Bus have set that fare as high as they can get away with. And that, of course, puts people like me off using the bus because it is so expensive. So the system at the moment creates a system where buses, if you get on a bus, you will largely just see younger people, older people, or disabled people who have free bus passes. And that is not an inclusive society. That is not how we create a more equal society, a fairer society, all those things that Jim Fairley was saying that he wants to create. We're basically creating a completely segregated society where nobody would use a bus if you didn't have a concessionary card and you had other options. So we've got to completely reform the way that buses are run in Scotland, and that's what we're campaigning for, is to bring the bus network back into public control. So if Jim Fairley is prioritising putting any legislation through the Parliament, that's what he should be doing. We had a Transport Act in 2019, which gave powers to transport authorities like SPT to be able to regulate the buses, so SPT would set the fares, not the private bus companies, so they could be set in the public interest. And that legislation, 6 years after that Transport Act was passed, has still not been made available because Jim Fairley and his colleagues at Transport Scotland haven't written the guidance.
Okay, Ellie, I just want to steer you back to the subject of our discussion this morning, which is about young people and the antisocial behaviour that has, in Edinburgh, I mean, you highlighted Edinburgh as being a place where the bus system is under public control. There, an FOI by the Scotsman discovered there'd been a spike of a third in antisocial behaviour cases involving young people since the introduction of free bus travel. So there's no guarantee that a different system will stop the problems.
Well, you've got an issue there that the only company that you can FOI, only bus company that you can FOI in Scotland is Lothian Buses because it's a public company.
Yeah.
You can't do an FOI to First Bus. And one of your early callers pointed that out, that the data is completely skewed. And the problem with this system being called a universal benefit. So we called the Young Scot Card a universal benefit. It's not universal at all, because if you live in the Highlands in a small village and you haven't got a bus, then this is completely worthless to you. Whereas if you live in Lothian and you've got Lothian buses and you've got a bus at the end of your street every 10 minutes, then it's fantastic.
Yeah, and crucially, it's not free, as lots of people are pointing out in the text, because somebody at the end of the day is paying for this. Ellie Harrison from Get Glasgow Moving, thanks for your time this morning.